Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Welcome back to the channel. We've got another live show, another lunch show today. We're going to be talking about the CPO, the Chelsea pitch owners. Are they good? Are they bad? Positive and negatives surrounding the CPO. Why has it become more of a talking point recently on Twitter? And what are the reasons that this topic has escalated as well? I mean, there's actually a number of reasons. First of all, looking at Manchester United and the fact that they're looking to redevelop and build a much bigger version of Old Trafford. And on top of that, you look at where Chelsea are ranking in terms of stadiums in the Premier League. We seem to be going lower and lower and lower down the table. You look at Everton, they're going to have a bigger stadium than us. If Sunderland get promoted, their stadium's bigger than us. So if you look at what we want from our football team, the word is elite. We want the best, the very best on the pitch, off the pitch, but we are certainly not within that ranking when it comes to stadiums. That is where we are seriously lagging behind. And there is plenty of work to do in the background and from the fan base as well, because this is where the CPO comes in. They have a huge amount of power and pull within making the decision to either stay at Stamford Bridge or relocate to another location. Earls Court is one that's been talked about as well, and try and expand there. So big up to everyone that's watching. Smash the like button if you haven't already, and we'll go through everything. If you want the preview for Copenhagen, I might briefly touch on that as well. But we are going to start off speaking about the CPO because that is one of the key points. I mean, you can't ignore it. The CPO is not something that you could ignore. I know some people like it, some people don't like it, some people hate it. In fact, I think that that's a little bit harsh to hate the CPO. You have to understand that these are guys that seriously love the club and they pay a fee in order to become a shareholder. You don't have to be based in England to be a member of the CPO. You can be part of any country and still buy shares. And that means that you get a say with what happens to do with the pitch that Chelsea play on, because the CPO own the pitch. How many other football teams in the world can say that the fans own the pitch? And I think that's, as much as people want to criticize that in terms of some of the restrictions you can have, I think that really it's a positive, and you have to look at it from that perspective, because we talk about the things that we're unhappy with. We can't control the players we buy. We can't control the sporting directors. We can't control the ticket prices. We can refute those things. We can protest, but we can't actually control those things. Yeah, we can't make the decision, yes or no, is it going to happen? Do you have the power to control those decisions? Absolutely not. But you can control what happens to do with the stadium relocating. If that's not power, I don't know what is. So the fact that people want to disagree with that is one thing. So I think the CPO has a huge amount of power, a huge amount of responsibility, and it's their job to make sure that the best decision is made with respect to Chelsea's future. And this is what we're going to talk about today as well. So let me know what you think about the CPO. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? And if you've got any questions for the CPO as well, we're going to learn together more about the CPO than we would have known previously. See what the updates are regarding the stadium, Earls Court location, as well as why is it even a consideration to relocate when you could just stay at Stamford Bridge? I'm sure there's some people wondering that, and we will be going through that together. Who do I think is going to start in goal against Copenhagen, Sean? To be honest with you, mate, I haven't got a clue anymore. Can't predict these things. Really can't predict them. Bro, we need a really bad stadium. What? We need a really bad stadium. We need a bigger stadium. I think that's what you mean. We look like a small club. Yeah, we're gonna look at the rankings to do with who has the best and the worst stadiums. This is certainly a topic that needs to be discussed. Big up to NS Sports as well. I hope you're doing well, mate. Big up to Jordan. Love the shirt. Thank you very much, mate. This was actually my my dad's shirt. So This is a classic one. This is when's this from? 2005. We're going back to retro. Big up to you, Jordan. Big up to Rory. He says, I was watching Charlie and Lewis yesterday, and Lewis made a good point that there's no point in building up the bridge because we're not going to be able to go past 60,000 seats. It's a very good point. We're going to address that as well, mate. Listen, I'm going to try and play devil's advocate on here, but at the same time, I can't sit here and say I don't like the CPO. I like the CPO. I'm a member of it. I've got multiple shares in the CPO. I've been to a couple of the CPO events over the past few years. I've met people to do with the CPO. I have, a very close family friend who was the chairman of the CPO for about 20 years. So, I have close relationship with the CPO, and I've seen what they are able to do. I don't think that you can criticize that as a club. I think it's very short-sighted to look at the CPO and just flat out criticize them. Why are you criticizing them? What have they done to be criticized at this moment in time? Have they rejected the opportunity to move officially? Absolutely not. But you are hearing some fans, and I do speak to certain fans who are totally against the idea of moving away from Stamford Bridge. And then you've got another side who are open to it. And this is where we need to try and come to a conclusion. What is the best option for Chelsea? What are the benefits of staying and what are the benefits of leaving? So we're going to get into that as well. Big up to you, Tom. He says, afternoon, Alex. We need to move Earls Court to get a bigger stadium. There is too much holding us back at the bridge. And United's new design just looks awful, like a circus tent. But I will say this, Tom, 100K. That's the first club team in England to have 100,000 seats in a stadium. I mean, that's going to be good, especially when they look at the financial situation. So I think finances are certainly going to be a factor with this debate, but I appreciate what you're saying anyway. Wassa says we need to move away for the best of Chelsea, and also to sustain the competition, we need to move away. TJ says you highly disagree. What do you disagree with, mate? Big up to Blue Lion. Thanks for the super chat, mate. He says CPO is the problem and is holding us back. We need to evolve and move away from Stamford Bridge. We need a bigger stadium. But again, I ask, why is the CPO the problem? And what have they held us back from? Because there has been no official rejections here. There's not been a proposal that's put on the table to show that the CPO are holding us back from anything. Show me an offer and let's see the result. Let's see what happens. And then there'll be a vote. And the vote will either go in favor of staying or in favor of leaving. And that is where we need to, get to. Until we get to that point, I think it's very difficult to just say that they are a problem. Big up to you anyway, though, Blue Line. Thanks for the super chat, mate. I don't care. We need a bigger stadium. Fair enough. Neil, big up to you. He says the best option for our club is to stay at the bridge, but it needs a rebuild. Les says, I fully get why fans are annoyed at the prospect of leaving the area, but if we continue to play at Stamford Bridge in a 40,000-seater stadium, eventually we will be in the Championship. Wow, that's a big statement, Les. TJ says, why would we stay at the bridge in big 2025? Big up to Harshal. Respect to the CPO, says Neil. PJ says our next stadium will potentially be for the next 100 years. So building a new mega stadium in the new place is important. Minimum 75K. So that's the other side of the argument, isn't it? Is that if you rebuild Stamford Bridge and you're capped, and we don't know whether it's at 60, maybe you could get to 65, who knows? Then you're in a situation where what you'll have to do is eventually probably try and do the same thing later down the line in 50 years or whatever it is. So the argument is, why don't you just get to a bigger number like 75,000, which is a great number, almost double what Stamford Bridge is currently, and then you don't have to worry about it because it's done. And you've made the foundations for a stadium that ultimately doesn't need to be thought about again. And this is now a stress that is getting some serious coverage, because it has, this argument has a lot of backbone. We do need more match day revenue from our stadium, and you're not going to win over any fans by just increasing ticket prices and keeping the stadium the same. You've got to find a way to increase the amount of people that can go to the games as well, because as it stands, there's already enough members that are struggling to get tickets. So if you alleviate that as well, and you just have expensive tickets, then you're going to be in a real tough spot. So you need to make more seats for the regular match going fan, so they can afford to go to these games. Neil says the owners hate the CPO. I'm sure they do. Otherwise, we would have already probably had planning permission at this point. Don't we need a 75% agreement from the CPO to move away from Stamford Bridge? Anyways, where do we move? The Earls Court is out as an option, so a rebuild is the only feasible option. Yes, we do need 75%, mate. You're absolutely correct. Any less than 75% means that nothing can happen. So if 75% of people don't want to leave, then we will most likely stay. They said if we move from Stamford Bridge, we have to change our club name. Well, that's only if the CPO disagree with it. Have you heard the news of Jadon Sancho going back to Man U if Chelsea decide not to go through the deal in the summer? It would cost Chelsea significantly to pull out of the deal. I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. But if we look at this, guys, what we're seeing with the CPO, and I want to bring up a point that was spoken about on the channel, and it's something that has sparked a little bit of debate on Twitter, and it's to do with the CPO. And it's my good friend Ricky. I'm going to share my screen with you now. After one of the games, which game was it? It was what game was this? Fucking hell. Southampton game? Yes, Southampton game. So after the Southampton game, this is what Ricky had to say. Listen carefully.
Everyone needs to go and become a CPO, the Chelsea pitch owner. It's £125 for a lifetime. Okay, go and get yourself a share. Go and get yourself a share. Then you can say you own Stamford Bridge pitch. We own the pitch as pitch owners, and we own the name Chelsea Football Club. And if them mugs upstairs want to take us to Earls Court and become the Earls Court Raiders, that's what they'll have to fucking call us, because that's all it is. They can't take us away from Stamford Bridge without changing the name of this football club. And by changing the name, we're going to the bottom tier of the football pyramid. And because of that, they won't do it. So everyone that needs to go on and become a CPO, it's 125 quid for the year. And not 125 quid for the year, sorry, 125 quid for life. You get a share and you get a voting right, and you become more important than even the owners. And that's what you need to do. And I was telling all my boys that today, and all the girls that I know as well today. And I said, that's what you got to do. And everyone.
So again, Ricky makes some great points. For those of you who don't know Ricky, he goes to a lot of the games. He's a season ticket holder. He's a friend of mine. And Ricky's talking a lot of sense here. Now, those of you who are trying to learn about the CPO, again, we'll just break down some of the things he says.
One needs to go and become a CPO, the Chelsea pitch owner. It's £125 for a lifetime.
It's 125 quid for a lifetime. So we're not talking about a subscription that you do every month. We're not talking about a yearly subscription, a yearly fee. You pay that money, you are a shareholder, full stop. And that is what the CPO gives you, right? The CPO gives you that share forever. It used to be a little bit cheaper. I got my shares for about £100 each. So that was about 4 years ago. So it's a little bit more expensive now than it was. But still 125 quid. Listen, the reason it's expensive, because it's not cheap, is it? Let's be honest. The reason it's quite a lot of money is because the CPO still needs to, they have running costs. Yeah, the CPO is like any business, right? They have costs. So they need to sustain a profit. Not that anyone makes money out of it. I'm not saying that, but they host events, things like that, and yeah, for whatever reason, they end up eating up a little bit of cash. So they are always looking for new people to join the CPO to help keep it on its feet. Because if people stop joining, the CPO basically can't run itself, and then it's fucked, right? So I encourage you to become a member of the CPO, even if you don't want to be a part of Stamford Bridge. Your vote will count just as much as anyone else's vote. So if you want to stay at Stamford Bridge, become a CPO shareholder, and if you want to leave, become a CPO shareholder. You have equal power within both of those. So don't think that just because you have shares in the CPO that that you're just going to be part of this group who want to stay at Stamford Bridge. There are members of the CPO who want to leave, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But your voice will not be heard unless you have shares, right? That your voice won't be heard, full stop. So let's see what else Ricky has to say. So he says £125 for a lifetime.
Okay, go and get yourself a share. Go and get yourself a share. Then you can say you own Stamford Bridge pitch. We own the pitch as pitch owners.
So yeah. So again, that is why the CPO has value, because you are, by being a part of the CPO, you are technically speaking an owner of the pitch. Yeah. So Chelsea Football Club do not own the pitch. The CPO own the pitch. Chelsea Football Club own the stadium. They own the infrastructure around the pitch, but where the football is played directly is owned by the CPO. And this is so unique. We'll check out in a second if there's any other fan bases that own the pitch like the CPO, but I think it's very unlikely. I mean, are there any, if I'm going to look this up, other teams, any? So if you look at this, this is the first article I've come across. Famous soccer clubs that don't own their own. Oh, for fuck's sake, that's not what I want. Right. Well, this is bullshit. Okay. So this is saying that Chelsea don't own Stamford Bridge. This is bullshit. Okay. The CPO do not own Stamford Bridge. Okay. The CPO own the pitch. The stands and the stadium is owned by Chelsea Football Club, but this is actually inaccurate. So this is saying Chelsea is one of the most popular teams globally, but interestingly, they do not own the iconic Stamford Bridge. Total bullshit. All right. Chelsea do own Stamford Bridge. So they're saying it's owned by the pitch owners, a non-profit organization tasked with the upkeep and maintenance of the stadium. That's not true. I don't think that's true at all, guys. So not really much we can take from that article. Chelsea own the stadium. The CPO own the pitch. Different things, guys. Really important that you differentiate that. Right, let's see what else Ricky had to say. I can see your super chat about Ricky as well. I will come to that.
And we own the name Chelsea Football Club. And if them mugs upstairs want to take us to Earls Court and become the Earls Court Raiders, that's what they'll have to fucking call us.
So again, the CPO also we have the name Chelsea Football Club. So if for whatever reason the ownership said fuck it, we are going to relocate to Earls Court, whether you like it or not, then what that means is that they would have to change the name. They couldn't go under the name Chelsea Football Club, and they would automatically get demoted to the lowest tier of English football, the bottom tier. And that is where we have a significant amount of power, because commercially, like obviously the ownership aren't going to want to invest in a club that is not in the Premier League. That is an absolute priority for them. So yeah, this is where it can get a little bit juicy in that sense.
Because that's all it is. They can't take us away from Stamford Bridge without changing the name of this football club. And by changing the name, we're going to the bottom tier of the football pyramid. And because of that, they won't do it. So everyone that needs to go on and become a CPO, it's 125 quid for the year. and not 125 quid for a year, sorry, 125 quid for life. You get a share and you get a voting right, and you become more important than even the owners. And that's what you need to do. And I was telling all my boys that today, and all the girls that I know as well today. And I said, that's what you've got to do.
There you go. So Ricky does explain it quite well. Whether you agree with what he's saying or not, whether it's the right thing to do or not, Ricky's explained the CPO quite well. Let's see what else we have to say, guys. What else have we got? Harshell says, I'm not from London, but I've been to London and been lucky to go to the Bridge for a match. Where is the space in Fulham or Chelsea Borough? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? There's not really a lot of space. That's what sparked this huge debate, and we've obviously spoken about Earls Court as well. The CPOs are a big problem. Rebuilding Stamford Bridge is a waste of time and money. We can only get 70k max, so either eventually we will have to move. Rory says the CPO is not a problem in the majority. The only thing is that if they are given an offer that's clearly for the best, but say no, it would be for nostalgic reasoning, even though it's 5 minutes away. Like, I was having a debate earlier, and we did a podcast this morning, Lewis, me, and Charlie, and that will come out after this live. And my stance, I've almost flip-flopped a little bit with the stadium, to be quite frank, because I know that going to Earls Court is in the best interest of Chelsea. I know that. But the other part of me says that by relocating to Earls Court, we are giving our owners another way of making more money. And I'm not going to sit here and say like that I want Chelsea to suffer. But even if we had a stadium of 65k, I don't think that's going to be a massive problem. I really don't think it's going to be a massive issue. There's going to be many teams in the Premier League that never ever get to that size, right? And for us to get to that size as well, it's a good amount. Yeah, 65k. It's like 25k more than we already have, and there's going to be plenty of opportunity for more fans to be able to get to games, more season tickets to be distributed, and the club can increase their revenue while still giving regular match-going fans the opportunity to go not just on their own but with their families, because you've got a lot of parents that want to take their children to games and things like that. But the thought of relocating and basically giving that real estate to Blueco and Clearlake, which will then be sold for a massive profit or held on to and just used for an income for however long, that doesn't sit right with me either. Okay, the fact that the land of Stamford Bridge has been played on, that whole area will just be converted into houses and property and flipped on like we've done with many of our players. That doesn't sit right with me either. So there's two sides to this. There's the purely logical side, which tells you that the numbers don't add up if you stay at Stamford Bridge when you have other teams that are able to expand more and more. And the other side of the equation is that if you relocate, you are giving this ownership, who I'm guessing the majority of you dislike, you are giving them exactly what they want, which is money. And I don't know if I want them to have that, because no matter where we go, the prices of our tickets are not going to be any cheaper. You can make the debate, you can argue that it's easier to have cheaper tickets because you have a bigger stadium. But do you think that's actually going to happen when you look at Arsenal and all of these other teams who have bigger stadiums than us? They actually charge more than us as well. So Chelsea's going to catch up. There's no doubt about it. We've got Westview and all these other areas of hospitality, season ticket prices going up 30% next year. Bearing in mind, they already went up by a similar amount. And that's not going to change. But that's the argument that we have to address. So do you care more about the emotional side or the logical side? Do you do this purely on the assumption that Chelsea is going to bring in more revenue, so it's healthier for the club? Or do you look at it from the perspective of, you know what, first of all, I love the bridge, but second of all, these are not the right owners to move with. If we were going to move, we've got to move with owners who have our best interests at heart. And that is not who we're working with at the moment. So lots of questions, lots of debate as well. Let me know what you think, guys. L4 says, I think that we've got to move away from Stamford Bridge because it's old and the atmosphere is crap. Maybe if we have a bigger stadium, it would be better. I think the atmosphere has been absolutely diabolical this season, mate. I agree with you on that. 70k sounds good, but but in 20, 30, 40 years later, 70k max will not be good enough. You could be absolutely right, Aka. It could be we need to push on even more, just like United are planning on doing. Who knows? Blue Line says Ricky is a clown. This is why the CPO is the problem. Again, I ask you, why do you think Ricky's a clown? And why do you think the CPO is a problem? Because the CPO gives us the chance as fans to make a decision on the club's future. So by saying the CPO is the problem, you are saying that the fans should not be involved in making the decision to relocate or not. Now, one thing that I could probably get behind is that the 75% majority that's needed in order to push anything through with the CPO is quite difficult. Abramovich couldn't do it. And I don't think that Clearlake can do it, to be quite frank. So if we had a vote tomorrow, we would stay at Stamford Bridge. That seems fairly obvious, right? Because you're not going to get 75% of shareholders to leave. You're not going to get that, especially because a lot of the shareholders are older as well. It's not cheap buying a share. Most shareholders will be slightly older, from a generation, where they've been going to Stamford Bridge for 20, 30, 40, even 50 years. And they don't want to see that heritage stripped away. From the other perspective, you've got a lot of younger fans who are going, well, sorry, you've got a season ticket, but I can't get one because there's not enough seats in the stadium. And those are the people who, probably the younger fans, who would be looking to relocate. But also you've got younger fans who probably aren't buying shares. Because, well, it's just obvious, isn't it? The younger generation, they don't have as much money. They're not going to buy it. But if you really care, you will do it, even if it's a little bit difficult. And that's the question I ask is, are you going to buy a share? Do you have a share? And then when the time comes, you can make your decision. This is why the CPO is a problem, refusing to evolve. We know that we can't build 75k on Stamford Bridge. It has to be somewhere else. Gary says, hi, Alex. The CPO is a good thing. I'm getting a bit fed up with people thinking that we can move to Earls Court. I would love that, but they're redeveloping it for houses, culture venue, and a park. It's online. Let's look it up, Gary, because I have actually heard this many, many times. What's the name of the Earls Court location? Location for Chelsea. We can all learn something today, huh? Right, this is based on Football Ground Guide, and this is a relatively new article published on the 25th of February, so this is quite new. Chelsea Football Club has long been discussing the prospect of a new stadium, which previous talks having swung from expansion of their current home to chatter about a newly built stadium. Let me just put that in the middle. Okay. Now, though, under Todd Bowley and co-stewardship, the plan for increased capacity stadium could finally arrive in the form of a new Stamford Bridge. What are the plans for a new Chelsea stadium? Right now, Stamford Bridge has a capacity of 42,000. The plans, which are still largely in their infancy, aim to add 18,000 seats to the overall capacity. Taking the total up to 60,000, that would make the stadium the fourth biggest in the Premier League. That's the what element covered. The details become a little bit more interesting in the how and where. Stamford Bridge has a long history with multiple honours having been lifted there, but Both demolition and a complete rebuild are on the agenda. So we could see Stamford Bridge knocked down and rebuilt, or other aspects as well, maybe a slightly slower and more bit more like Liverpool, where you go stand by stand. That might sound like an extreme step to take, but it's the most profitable way to build a modern stadium, with existing buildings challenging to incorporate into newer developments, both in terms of the aesthetics and the requirements of meeting the building regulations that exist today. Even so, a Stamford Bridge rebuild won't come cheap, with a staggering figure of 1.5 billion being stated. Give you guys context as well. Man United's new Old Trafford, whatever that's going to be called, that's 100k, and that's being quoted around 2 billion. So to think that for 60,000, 40,000 seats less than Man United, you only pay 500 million less. So you're paying a very inflated price here for that stadium, and that's because of the location, obviously. When could the new Chelsea Stadium be ready? The other big question that needs to be discussed is when, and that is not a pretty answer for Chelsea fans. Any rebuild of Stamford Bridge would take around 5 years to complete, and with the activity being a proper rebuild, there will be no matchday action at the stadium during works. The use of Wembley Stadium and a ground share with Fulham have both been tabled as potential options. A Stamford Bridge homecoming should be in line for 2030. Now, that's under the assumption that they get building quite quick, which I highly doubt. Chelsea's plans to move away from Stamford Bridge seem to have hit a snag again. The Blues wanted to build a stadium with a larger capacity, which would see them become among the Premier League clubs upgrading their venues. And right, fucking hell, what's going on? Okay. I love that design, by the way. The Abramovich design was so good, but it's a shame it never happened. If we're looking at current capacities at the moment, this is where Chelsea rank in the Premier League. United on 74k, Tottenham on 62, West Ham on 62, Liverpool 60, Arsenal 60, City 55. I actually think these numbers are slightly older, because I'm sure that some of these other stadiums have been, City have got bigger and Liverpool have got bigger as well. St James's Park 52,000, Villa 42, and Chelsea 41. So we are mid-table when you look at our stadium. Mid-table. You can't look at this stadium and say anything less than that, because we are lagging in the middle. What else? Again, this goes back to the CPO, what we were speaking about earlier. The power of the CPO will have a significant impact on the club's plans to redevelop Stamford Bridge or move elsewhere. If Chelsea do move away from Stamford Bridge, oh, fucking hell, it's not even 75 or 76%. Can you believe that? 76% of the vote is needed. My God. So approval from 76% of the CPO shareholders. This group currently owns the land where the ground sits, as well as the name Chelsea Football Club. So again, reiterate, Chelsea Football Club owns the stadium, but we own the land. And I presume that that is, but if that's not just the pitch, then that must be, okay, well, that's fine then. That's even better. I thought it was just the pitch. This has caused issues in the past, especially when Roman Abramovich tried to move away from Stamford Bridge in 2011 by purchasing the freehold from CPO. However, he secured just over 60% of the vote, which wasn't enough to secure the freehold, meaning it remained in the hands of the CPO. Ultimately, this led to a difficult relationship between the club and the shareholder group for large parts of the Abramovich reign. Liam Tooney of The Athletic said, wounds from the acrimonious 2011 vote healed considerably in the final years of the Abramovich era, and acting on behalf of the new owners of Clearlake and Todd Bowley, club president and chief operating officer Jason Gannon had made an early effort to build closer ties with the CPO. Now, for those of you who haven't smelt the coffee already, the reason Jason Gannon is getting close to the CPO is because the owners need the CPO. If the CPO wasn't there, do you honestly think that the ownership would be making an effort to connect with the fan base? I mean, fucking hell. Can you not remember who we had before we had Jason Gannon? We had Chris Jurasek. Chris Jurasek, the man who said that they're not fans, they're customers. We are customer FC, we're hedge fund FC. Don't forget that. Just because of some of the results we've had, I absolutely do not change my stance on this ownership. They are not here for the benefit of Chelsea. They are here to benefit themselves, and that's fine. But understand that. All right, I'm not going to sit here and say that it needs to change. Of course, it needs to change, but it won't change when they're here. It won't change. It will not change at all. He added, any plan that involves the team moving temporarily or permanently from Stamford Bridge will require CPO approval, a reality that concerns some supporters who fear the club being left behind by their domestic and European rivals if such a proposal is blocked. So, yes, that is what we have at the moment with regards to Chelsea at the moment. Again, this is in September 2024 when Earls Court Development Company reiterated there's no plan for Chelsea to build a new stadium on their site as they press ahead with their own project. So they're just continuing, what they're doing at the moment, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, that's where we're at the moment. I mean, if we actually dive in, see if there's any updates. I actually doubt there is, to be quite frank. I doubt there's many updates regarding that. I think we would have seen that in the press already. If you go on the Earls Court Development Company, I think this is it here. The current asset, this is what we're looking at. And this is where Chelsea would like to build the new stadium. The new site is on Warwick's Road. Well, I'm guessing this is it here, guys. That's what was just said, isn't it? It's the Earls Court Development Company. Yes, that's the one. So we are on the right one. So that's the piece of land there, and this is what they are looking to do with it at the moment. The ECDC, which is the Earls Court Development Company, is an Earls Court-based business responsible for driving forward the regeneration of the circa 40-acre former exhibition centre site. The ECDC was formed in December 2019 and operates on behalf of Earls Court Partnership Limited, a joint venture between Delancey on behalf of its client funds and Dutch pension fund manager, APG, and Transport for London, TfL. So the acquisition, the Earls Court site has a rich and illustrious history. It is London's largest cleared Zone 1 development site. It comprises 40 acres of land that formerly housed the Earls Court Expedition Centres and sits within the boroughs of Kensington, Chelsea, Hammersmith and Fulham. The site benefits from an existing detailed planning consent secured a number of years ago. With the new ownership, the ECDC will lead the delivery of a new approach to this critically important London location, which has the potential to be a world-leading scheme showcasing the best in sustainable, community-focused and environmentally enhanced design. The first decision was taken to hand back the West Kensington and Gibbs Green housing estates in 2019, originally part of the previous owner's master plan, to Hammersmith and Fulham Council. This provided the residents of those estates with certainty and security that many of them had fought to achieve for so long. What else have they got? So since acquiring the site, the team has sought to maximize the social and economic benefits of its activities for all of those who live in and work in and visit Earls Court, as well as the focus on the future master plan for the site. A key component of this is activating the site at an early stage, though meanwhile uses which build on the legacy of Earls Court. Parts of Earls Court site have now become open to the public for the first time in over a century. Activities include securing planning consent for 51 new homes, creative workspaces, art installations, a community hub, an immersive theatre, and an active high street. So that is what they're planning on doing at the moment. So instead of a Chelsea stadium, they are looking to get 51 new homes, creative workspaces, art installations, a community hub, an immersive theatre, and an active high street. So that is the plan for Earls Court as it stands. So I know a lot of people are hoping that Chelsea can take over, but actually when you look at what's going on, it looks like we are a little bit far behind. And what that means as well, if God forbid there was a decision that happened, and let's just say the vote went through, we would have to then bid and buy that site from the ECDC, the Earls Court Development Company. And if they've already started building or doing whatever it is, we're going to have to pay an inflated price as well. Not just for the time that they've spent on the site, but also for the money that they've already invested. So that's an important factor to consider. In the summer of 2021, Delancey and the ECDC and the Underbelly brought the London Wonderground to Earls Court. The event brought 114,000 people, and it was free to enter and allowed the local economy and visitors to engage with shows, art installations, public spaces, fairground rides, pop-up bars, and food vendors. So this is what they have at the moment. Let's have a look. Sorry, this is the London Wonderground, just so you know. This is in 2021. You get the point, guys. Yeah. So basically what I'm saying is that it's going to be a little bit harder than you think to get anything done with regards to, this stadium, because the ECDC, they're already making moves. They're not waiting for us. They've got their own plans. Social value is at the heart of future plans for the site. Over the last 2 years, a series of events and meanwhile activities have been organized to create a positive change and stimulate economic growth. From the underbelly at Earls Court to the launch of the Earls Court Community Fund, new jobs and opportunities have been created for residents, businesses and organizations across Hammersmith, Fulham, Kensington and Chelsea. Some of the key highlights to date include 3.1 million economic value on the area, 1.66 estimated social value generated by visitors who experienced the feature on events, 164k the social value created, blah, 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 404 jobs, 15 local people, blah, 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 blah. And then you come to here. So this is what they've done so far and some of the sort of economic value that they've brought. This is important as well, because whoever we're buying this from, like, what are we going to bring to the table that they're not doing? Because they're helping they're helping the community. We know that football stadium is obviously going to help the community. That will bring a huge amount of people, which will help the local economy. But it seems like what they're doing as well is also going to help. So I don't know. I don't know how much money we're looking at. So a lot of these things I'm looking at. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what you guys have to say as well. Neil says Earls Court's not an option. because the CPO is all about maintaining their power rather than doing what's best for the club. I have to disagree with that one, mate. The real Chelsea fan TV. I have to disagree with that. The CPO, they're a group of Chelsea fans who care a lot about the club, and I think that this was made in good faith. The CPO, Ken Bates, who used to own Chelsea before Roman Abramovich, was one of the people who helped set this up. So it wasn't just something that was formed by the fans. The ownership of Chelsea was also behind this at one point. And if you listen to what Ken Bates says, he continues to reiterate that you should buy shares in the CPO. He's done an interview with another fan channel, so you should go and check that out as well. You'd think you'd know about this before being so opinionated and ranting online about it. Can you not see that we're literally looking at the facts? So I'm not sure what rant you're on about, and I've been objective. So I think you're not really listening to what I'm saying by the sound of it. You're just ranting yourself, mate. The CPO is just a way for grown men with zero tangible real-world achievements to pretend they're kings of the hill. The reality is you spent £125 to keep us confined to the bridge. But again, Amaya, you can vote to leave. You don't have to vote to stay if you're part of the CPO. That's the whole point. That's why I encourage you to become members of it, so that your opinion can be heard. I honestly, if we had a vote tomorrow, I don't know where I'd vote. That's where I stand on it. I can see that Earls Court is obviously hugely beneficial to Chelsea in terms of the the economic side of things. We're going to generate a lot more revenue. We're going to have a lot more fans that can go to the games. But then there's the emotional side. And the question is, which is more important? When you look at the numbers don't lie, but also, football is sometimes you want to look at past the numbers. Football is, something that's close to people's heart, and Stamford Bridge is a lot of Chelsea fans' the home, and they could never see us leaving that home. And I don't see why people disrespect them for that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I can appreciate why a lot of people want to leave. I'm really on the fence with this, to be honest with you. The CPO legally owns the land, which makes upgrading Stamford Bridge a logistical nightmare. Well, not if we stay in the same place, Father. We can just upgrade it where we already are. It's better to have a full 60k stadium than a half full eyesore stadium nowhere near the club's true home. Fair enough. Father says the CPO is good, protects Stamford Bridge. It ensures the club can't move away without CPO approval. It keeps Chelsea's identity intact. No risk of a soulless rebound. Plenty of derelict land in Old Trafford, zero space in West London. That's also another factor to look at. Again, we'll finish off what we're saying about Earls Court, just so we know exactly what's going on. So the future of Earls Court is a brand new plan is being developed for the area, which doesn't seek to create a new community, but nurture something already rooted in this place. This will give the existing community the opportunity to shape how the site comes back to life, involving them from start to finish. The ECDC team is based on site and is driven by their core values of collaboration. Oh, fucking hell. I hate that word. Collaboration. Consideration and celebration of the local community. ECDC have a bold and ambitious plan underpinned by 4 priorities: to open up the former exhibition site for the first time in 150 years, giving back to local communities to create a showground of world-class ingenuity, celebrating its legacy and history to create a better piece of the city, and a blueprint for future generations to address the climate emergency, an ambition to go beyond net zero. And then you've got related support organizations. Consultations plans for the site can be viewed here. See if there's anything that is... It's interesting though, guys. I mean, I'm learning stuff here as well. Yeah. Yes, they're going to build 4,500 new homes and create 12,000 jobs. See, I just don't see it. Don't see it happening, to be totally honest with you. What do we think in the chat, guys? What do we think? Earls Court is gone and it's already part of a regen project. Yeah, mate. That's what we've been looking at. So it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But it's just good to read it and see exactly what's going on, because people are still talking about Earls Court. I don't know why they're talking about Earls Court if we can't go there. But money talks. If the right price comes in for that land, then I can imagine that there would certainly be a consideration. But it's going to be more expensive because they've already started their project. They're making they're making headway. Someone in the chat said they're trying to take us away from the club's true home. It's a 20-minute walk. Yeah, I mean, Earls Court is really not that bad. Earls Court would be the best scenario if we're moving. You look at where Arsenal have relocated, you look at where Tottenham have relocated, they're totally different areas. I mean, it's within the same sort of area, but it's you couldn't walk from the old Tottenham Stadium to the new one. I don't think you can. Arsenal, you can walk, so it's not actually as bad, to be fair. We're just in a very unique position. We're in a really, really expensive part of London. Real estate and building real estate is not easy to do because there's so much of it already. So where do you build? Yeah. Emotions don't keep businesses afloat. That's true. That's true. Stamford Hut has been a library for 10 years, and we could have moved with Roman if it wasn't for the CPO. That's very true. It's very true. We could have been in a good position to relocate, but also Battersea Park is really, really far away. That's not close at all. So it's all if, buts, and maybes. Nobody really knew what was going to happen. And I think that if we have known we would have been in this situation, maybe we would have considered it years ago. Do people want to be called Chelsea Football Club still? We leave the bridge, we lose the name. I saw someone saying, oh, yeah, no, you just change the name to Chelsea or Chelsea AC or Chelsea. No, come on, man. That's not a serious comment. You don't do that. Come on, that's not serious. If Man United can leave Old Trafford, we can leave the bridge, but they're not leaving. They're just expanding or rebuilding where they already are. So they're not leaving. It's the same land that they were already on. So that's not the same. It's literally, they have so much land that they're able to expand massively. We are not in the same position. Fucking hell. The only other option is to buy Twickenham. Jesus. For those of you who don't know what Twickenham is, that's England's rugby stadium, which has a good capacity. It's about 60K, if I'm not wrong. Maybe even 70. But again, that's a terrible location. It's not local at all. How far? Where's Twickenham's like? Oh no, that's really far. Well, that's what Abramovich was planning to do, Tom. He was planning to dig down. But again, you've got to think, if you go down, you've also got the underground, the trains that you have to worry about. So many different factors that come into it. I think that was one of the things Abramovich was looking at doing was potentially changing the way Fulham Broadway was built in order to accommodate the new stadium. But I really don't know. Thomas says, can anyone remember Wimbledon? That scummy ownership moved them out of London as a pitch owner. I'll never vote to let people take Chelsea from its rightful home. But nobody's saying to take it out of London, Thomas. That's not what people are saying. They are saying still in London, just somewhere else that isn't by Fulham Broadway. Real Chelsea Fan TV says, the point is you own one name, Chelsea Football Club. They could just change it to something similar that isn't the same, but it will never be the same. It will never be the same. So if you want to support Chelsea, that's fine. I'm going to support Chelsea Football Club. And that may sound a bit silly, but it's different. It's not the same. Like we just saw what happened with Wimbledon, right? Just because you move somewhere else, you can still have your heritage as a club. I'm not saying you can't have that heritage, but to change the name of the club, that's like me saying next week, it's not Alex on Chelsea Fan TV. My name's Marcus. That's my name. Don't call me Alex. So it's not the same. I don't know. It's not the same. I don't really know how else to explain it. And you've got to remember when we talk about this is a club with such a rich history. By no longer calling it Chelsea Football Club, then you haven't erased that history, but you kind of have. You kind of have. I don't know, man. It just doesn't sit right with me changing the name. I can live with leaving the stadium. I could live with, if we needed money, I could live with having a stadium that for a period of time was sponsored, like Barcelona have the Spotify Stadium, for example. Like, I'm not against that because I'd still call it Stamford Bridge. Everyone knows it's Stamford Bridge, right? But to change the name of the team entirely, I wouldn't do that. The real Chelsea fan is Big Daddy Barley lurking in the chat with these dumb ideas. They've already trademarked the name Chelsea and the Chelsea as well as CSC London. Well, that's their fucking problem, mate. They can do what they want. But if that's what they're going to do, then I tell you what, we are going to have some serious problems. Oh, my God. I mean, that's getting political right there. If you want to relocate and change the name, that's just totally political. But it's not for me, man. It's not for me. It wouldn't mean the same thing. Like, can you imagine looking at the table and seeing CFC? It just doesn't look right. Big up to you, Stephen. I hope you're doing well, mate. Good to see you back in the chat. Change it to Fulham Blues. Nice ring to it. The CPO needs to stand firm. No new stadium unless Egbali and Bowley are going to invest their own money. Otherwise, the cost of financing means more low wages and underaged players. That's a fair point, Bobby. That's a fair point. But again, like we'd have to, whether we stay or go, we'd have to invest, right? And that in the long term, the club would make that money back, especially if we outlive our current ownership. Then hopefully we can bring some of that revenue and reinvest it. Why can't Clownlake buy the surrounding area to extend the stadium? I don't know, mate. Probably the cost, if I'm honest, and just the cost. I think that's probably the main thing. The thing is, when you get these bigger stadiums, you've got to build up as well. And we are blocking the view of is it a cathedral? And we're legally not allowed to block that view, which is why we're capped. It's not actually because we don't have enough space. It's because of the view being blocked. So if you build up, then the view's blocked. And yeah. Neil says, I don't trust these clowns to build the stadium we deserve. Look how they are running the footballing side. If we move away, it better be good. Selling the bridge land is a once in a lifetime money. Up the Chelsea. Oh, pardon me. Well, that's a big sneeze. Bless me. But yeah, guys, that's where I am at the moment. A new stadium would mean more tickets for Bowley to Stamford Vivid Seats. You're probably right. Don't disagree with that. But, you know, it's one of those situations, guys, isn't it? Some people agree, some people disagree. And you've got to make your own decision at the end of the day. My opinion is that there's good sides to both of it. But I'm sure we're going to have more debates on the subject. Listen, smash the like button if you haven't already. Let's get up to 50 likes on the video. We've got just over 50 of you in here at the moment. So smash the like button. And we're going to have another show at 7 o'clock. So jump on for that one. 7 o'clock, we're going to have another live show. We're going to be previewing the Copenhagen game and talking all things Chelsea as well. Big up to all of you, and we will catch up very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.